In this video I will have a detailed look at one of the coolest, if not the coolest, ultralight or light lure fishing rods from Purelure called NDMBLS. And the blank, or carbon used for the blank, is top-notch really. It's Toray M46X, and also the guides used for this rod are Fuji Sic Titanium frames and Sic insets. So very high specifications on this rod, and there are more too, like carbon reel seat, very fancy one to add to it, and yeah, some carbon finish all around. So yeah, let's have a closer look, and let's start with the butt section first. So I will move the tip section out of the shot for now. So the end, as you can see, it's very minimalistic. It's very short, it's probably like 4 centimeters long. It has two types of carbon effects, basically, or at least one is polished maybe, or kind of varnished, and another one isn't, but they do look like different to me also. So this little sliver between two golden rings, and then some wider one, and then some hard foam inside here. So plenty of details in this little section, and also there is a Purelure's logo on the cap there. Then the blank itself, it's very slim, under 1 centimeter for sure, and they got a model that is 7 feet 9 inches. It says power light, action fast, lure from 1 to 12 grams, lines from go 0.4 to go 0.8. Yeah, some more information here, for example, code here, and some more information here. But yeah, that reel seat itself, I would say on this particular model, to the bottom of the reel seat from the end is about maybe 24-25 centimeters. And as you can see, this is carbon. The reel itself, or reel seat itself, it's carbon. And here we got a really nice, very slim foam trim. The same foam as here. So yeah, very nice, very high quality. And then we got aluminum screw here with some fancy, you know, cutouts and so on. Some more golden rings here. So you see this information here. That is a model, and that's about it. Okay, let's flip this rod around and we'll see. Actually, I need to show you this writing. It says right here, I hope you can see it with all the reflections. It says M46X. That's a carbon type, basically the best you can get, more or less. And also this is the technique how they use the carbon, I believe. Those will be like angles, I believe, maybe how they put the sheets of the carbon when they are building the blanks. Correct me if I'm wrong. And this is the guide, first guide, or the only guide on the butt section. Hope you can see it. It says Fuji on this leg and titanium on the other leg. So yeah, fantastic. And for this particular model that I got, I like the guide size. It's not too big, not too small. If I would be building this or fitting guides onto this blank, I would use exactly the same size. In my opinion, it's a good choice. We have a couple of kind of epoxy and thread wraps here, but it's simple deal here. Actually, it has a code of the rod or of the section here, so if you need to order it, you would be able to tell the code. That's basically DS7922, meaning it's a butt section. And yeah, very simple finish here, nothing fancy. And you know, I guess they did it simply here, so it would be as light as possible, and the balance would be as good as possible too. So also you will notice that there weren't any hook keepers, but Purelure includes a hook keeper with a rod, should you need one. Okay, now let's move on to the tip section. So as you can see, the same deal here. We got the code of the rod with number 1, meaning it's a tip section. Then we got first guide that is on 2 legs on the tip section. It's finished nicely. It has kind of very slim gold thread at the base or at the bottom of each guide, just to match with the rest of the golden element on the rod. Okay, another guide on 2 legs, smaller, way smaller. Another one still on 2 legs. I have to admit the finish is really exceptional. I mean, so far I haven't seen any kind of excess of epoxy, nothing like that. It looks high quality. Okay, I think I will just turn it around. So first guide on the single leg here. Another one on the single leg, and you will see that here we got the area where solid tip is inserted into the hollow tip, or hollow section, should I say. And yeah, the connection will be hidden underneath the guide. I would say, at least I can't see it anywhere else, so it must be here. And you will see that the thread used, like, it's not black anymore, it's bright orange, which is always good. I like it, to have something brighter toward the tip for lure fishing rods, especially ultralights or light lure fishing rods. So another guide, going smaller, and the last one. Last one, as you can see, is of an anti-tangle type, or it had this frame, so lines shouldn't, or braided lines, fine, especially ones, shouldn't be able to, get wrapped around. That's good to see. So let's count how many guides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 guides in total on this model. That's a good amount of guides. I like it. It's about perfect, I would say. And, it just looks like, when I look at the blank, when it's joined, or the sections are joined together, it just looks right, So yeah, tip section looks good, and I would say we can actually quickly measure. I will grab my caliber here and we'll measure how thick it is. It looks to me like it will be like around 1 millimeter. Yeah, 1 millimeter and 1.05. So yeah, and it would confirm, more or less the action and so on, and casting rating. So on paper it looks very good. And now let's talk about the action and casting rating and so on. Actually, but before that, let's quickly see how heavy this rod is, because I haven't took a weight of it as of yet, so we will learn it together, I guess. Here we go, zeros. Wow, butt section is 61 grams only for this length. That is impressive. That is very impressive. 73 grams. Wow, that is just wow. Yeah, you can definitely tell, that they try to shave off the weight as much as possible. That's cool. And for this length too. Now, when it comes to the casting rating, that is declared from 1 to 12 grams. That is more or less accurate. I would say you can overload this rod maybe up to 14, maybe 15 grams, but if you will be using this particular rod with 15 grams, then you shouldn't be like force casting for sure. So it should be like light lobbing out if you need, to present bigger lures in situations when you won't have any heavier rods. So 15 grams, that's absolute maximum. And yeah, you can cast 1 gram, that's not a problem at all, this particular model. Now, it says action fast, and I would agree, action is fast, maybe even extra fast. And when it comes to recovery times, actually, with this carbon, it's kind of, with this high-end carbon, if you will, it's always, like that. When you take the rod into your hand and when you try to bend it, it kind of, it bends more than you would expect. And when you try to kind of shake the rod, it kind of comes back into the straight position, or it stops bouncing almost immediately, And I believe this will be to do with the with a type of carbon, you know, or related to the type of carbon used for the blank. I believe this will be only my third rod I ever kind of put my paws on that had this M46X type carbon, and every single one of these rods you can kind of feel the difference, you know. It's, as I say, it feels very light and it bends a little bit, the blank itself, but when you kind of shake it around, you know, like aggressively, you would expect, you know, that it would bounce around a little bit longer because it bends, I mean, the blank a little bit, but it comes back like very quickly. So I believe it will be, as I say, to do with this fancy carbon, and it all, you know, accounts into kind of fantastic feeling. But again, I haven't used this rod as of yet, but I will, and there will be a separate video on the subject. Now, when it comes to the reel needed for this particular model, you will need around 200 grams reel because it's a longer rod with a solid tip as well. Remember, solid tips will be always a little bit kind of heavier, or the tip sections will be a little bit heavier than hollow tips, and you just will need slightly heavier reels to compensate for that. And also, you know, since it's so light here, you know, you just don't have any weight here, you know, to compensate for the length of the rod. So yeah, around 200 grams. And one thing like negative that I will say about this rod is this. It's not really a negative, but if I would be building this exact rod, I would be using this exact reel seat, but I would switch it around. I mean, I always like, you know, when the screw to secure the reel in place is below, not above. I mean, in here it's finished nicely. I mean, there are no sharp edges, nothing like that. But still, I would prefer, you know, to hold the rod just like that. And then I would call this reel seat or this kind of combination the best I ever had. Now it's like only like 7 out of 10 or something like that. Or maybe 8 out of 10 because, you know, it's carbon, it's very high end. But yeah, if it would be the same reel seat just switched around, I would give 10 easily. And as I say, I would call it probably the best reel seat like I ever had, because it's compact, it's ergonomically shaped, and, you know, it mostly allows me to have, you know, contact with soft material when I'm kind of fishing, and still allows me to have good chunk of 1 or 2 of my fingers on the blank just to feel that bite. I mean, still I can do everything now, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm just being picky here. I would prefer, you know, to have the screw below the reel when I'm fishing, and not have this contact with a finger, you know, or metal contact with my finger, especially in cold weather, for example. That will get cold for sure, you know. It just would be nicer to have something softer and a little bit more, you know, warmer and cold, or not as cold when fishing in, you know, sub-zero temperatures, for example. But that's about it, you know. So yeah, obviously when you have super fancy carbon that not many manufacturers use, it means that this rod will be expensive, but I believe still Purelure made a right decision to come out with something like that. When it comes to ultralight fishing, you see, when you ultralight fishing, you will be holding your rod for, I don't know, like hours and hours and hours in your hands and catching lots of fish. And to have something very high end with like the best available carbon, you know, it makes sense. And I believe that at least I would spend, let's say, if I would have like $200, pounds, whatever, and if I would have to have like to buy 2 rods, right, one, let's say, heavy and another ultralight, I would spend probably 30 or I don't know, like 20 to 30% of those 200 to get heavy rod, and the rest would go for the ultralight, because, you know, when you're using heavy, you know, rods and kind of tools in general, it's about getting the job done. When you are using ultralight gear, it's about getting the job done, yes, but also it's about enjoyment, because with the ultralight, especially, and the more expensive ultralight you will get, the more fun it will be to, you know, just cast, retrieve, and catch fish, and plenty of fish too. Anyway, that's my idea of having expensive ultralight rods. And this one, I'm not too certain how much it will cost. I'm pretty certain it will be like nearly 200 pounds here in the UK, or at least at the start. Then I'm pretty certain you will be able to get some deals way cheaper, like, you know, like during sales and stuff. But to begin with, I'm pretty certain they will have the prices quite high. But still, like, you won't find many rods that would have better specifications, or let's say would have this carbon and this quality guides, also carbon reel seat, for this price. You would be looking, you know, to spend, as always, you know, like twice the amount to get something like that, if you would be getting something from, let's say, Daiwa, Shimano, or some other Japanese, you know, high-end brands. But in any case, that's my idea of talking about the price and the rod in general. So as I mentioned, there will be a separate video where I will be testing this rod out, and watch out for that one. And if you can't wait and you want to get your paws on this rod, I will leave a link in the description below. You can check it out. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Over and out.